Once upon a time, in a universe far, far away, in a galaxy quite close, three worlds combine, three men come together, a podcast is born, the Boardcast. Time to reach the Boardcast maximum!
Captain Boardcast.
Dude, it's the 1 year anniversary.
We will have new nicknames this week. Did you guys know that?
We're 1 year old.
What was our nickname?
Well, Kang is Kang the Mighty Defender, and William is Loser.
What?
Yeah, we actually voted on this last week, so
Sorry, man.
yeah.
All right.
You weren't paying attention, dude.
Yeah.
This is what you get for not listening back on the podcast
Yeah.
episodes. Yeah.
We put it in a
snuck
poll.
it in there.
Immunity.
What's going on, boys?
I'm keen, dude. I'm keen. We've done this officially for 1 year.
Yeah. 1 year.
So we've elapsed 1 year of time, right?
Yeah. We've elapsed 52 weeks, making this the chronological 1 year anniversary. It's
Not
not,
bad,
episode
not bad.
52 because we did technically miss an episode.
Does it, in classic getting older range, right? Does it feel like a year has gone past? Because like as we increase in age, I feel like everything just increases in
Yeah.
pace by such an extrapolate amount. Like
You're talking about like maximum speed. It feels like I've just like just keeps going up.
we're
cranking it up.
roughly like a half a generation away from each other, right? Effectively.
Yeah.
Are we all in the same boat where like every year is just flying by at 1,000,000 miles an hour now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
I feel I don't I can't
It
speak
doesn't slow down either.
for you, King, but like having children, Will, it's like you see them grow. Like a week ago, Lucas was 5 years old and he was playing like Hot Wheels in the sand, and now he's 14. He's got a mustache and stuff like that. I feel like having children really allows you to see the expediency of time evaporating away from you.
It's turbo.
I think once you finish 18, your age starts to become brackets. You have like your 18 to 25, then you have 25 to 30. Everything's
Absolutely.
in brackets, and nothing really matters between the brackets anymore. Like the in-between little dates, nothing.
When I have a mate and he's like celebrating his 34th birthday and he's making a big deal out of it, I'm like, what are you doing, bud?
I thought it's like 40th.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think the round numbers make sense to make a big one, but like when it's just like some middling number, like I went out to dinner with some friends.
Middle age.
Yeah.
69.
Well, like a middling as in like, just a just the random ones in between, right?
That's called middle age problem, right?
Like I went to dinner out.
Oh, wait, do you guys have any plans for like if you're gonna have a mid-age crisis? You're gonna do the classic thing, go out, buy fancy cars, travel the world. I don't know, splurge.
If you have the cash,
Just like sell
yeah,
everything.
I think if you've got the cash and you functionally can,
Well, in
it's
my
not a
mind,
crisis,
in my mind,
it's
the
just an
classic,
action, right?
in my mind, the classic middle-aged crisis guy is the dude who just like sells everything and just tries to do something completely different.
I feel like nowadays it's getting a Ford Raptor. That's like the middle life crisis, right? Your wife's left you.
So
and
my 21,
she's got the house, and you've got just enough finance
so my
to get a
mate at
Raptor.
21 who bought a Ford Raptor was going through his midlife.
I think he was.
right.
I think he might die at
does
40.
does he regret getting that Ford Raptor?
He won't admit it.
But he should. Anyone at 21 getting a $60,000 loan
No,
for
no,
a car.
it was 80.
$80,000
He bought the
for
top
a
of the
car.
line.
We can't go into finance, bro, too early on in this podcast
Yeah.
about a year celebration, sort of. But
This is my finance bro advice. The one advice, you spend all your money at Northern Boards.
I approve this message. Going at that 20, 21, 20, even 20, anywhere up to like 25, 30, spending that amount of money on a loan to get a car just decreases your ability to do anything in your life, like holidays, like aiming for a home loan. It's just sucking all of your finance away from you. Like you have to really, really love that car. I got a loan for my car, but then I used it to do Uber with, and then I paid the car off loan in a year. So it's like hey, you gotta have a strategy.
For sure.
I think just spending 5 years. Have you seen those crazy loans the Americans get, where it's like 30-year loans on Toyota Camry and stuff?
30 year.
Yeah, like 30-year loans, like basically home loan style loans, but on a vehicle. So the loan will outlast the car by like 5 times. Yeah, super high interest, like 10, 12% interest as well. Insane things. And they interview the people getting the loan and they're like, are you super excited? And they're like, yeah. And you can just like see this is like, this poor person just not educated on how finance works at all.
He's locked into it. He's screwed.
Yeah, that person will never be able to buy another thing for the rest of their life. I guess maybe they can remortgage that loan, but then the bank's just locked them in as a customer effectively, like for the rest of their life.
Endless cycle.
So the podcast, 1 year old, you know, do you guys remember anything or like, what is a 1 year old child doing? What is the equivalent 1 year old at this point
Eating
now?
solids.
So our podcast can now walk.
I think I was actually flying at 1 year old.
Yeah.
Solids.
Gotcha. So our podcast can now start eating food. Okay. All right.
We can say mama.
Yep. our podcast can now officially say baby words.
Yes.
Yeah.
And usually you can pull yourself up about 1 o'clock, 1 years old.
Nice.
Between like 7 months and 1. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I think that's right. It's been so long since I had small children.
Get
I have
another
to
one.
I have to like work to remember how small children function.
Next one.
So are we pulling ourselves? Is that what we are? Where we can say mama and we can
Yep.
pull ourselves up?
Yep.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Feel
we're gonna
accomplished.
talk about.
We still got a few years of shitting our pants though.
We're gonna talk about what we're gonna do in season 2. Season 2.
Well, before we get into season 2, just for the next episode, which is technically episode 52.
Yes.
So the anniversary episode, the 1 year anniversary episode.
We want to
we're
make such a
doing
big deal out of it. We purposely didn't record one so we could celebrate 52 in style.
Yeah.
all of you.
We're doing a special episode, so tune in. We're going to be doing like an interview style, try to get more community members down. Yeah.
Going to call like hot seats. So we'll do it next Thursday. We often record on
seat with
Thursday after
hot
night.
wings.
So we actually could get Nem to do hot wings.
And
Maybe we do
while you're eating hot wings, you're gonna like the double dab,
It's not a bad idea.
We just rip off the fucking, let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
and then you talk, and then you eat
Hot
the hot
ones.
wings.
We'll
Boy.
call it the Kang Rogan experience while doing hot wings.
Dude, funnily enough, this is not the first time Northern Boards has done hot wings.
Yeah.
You guys remember?
We should do that more often.
Do
It was
you,
quite
do you remember,
successful.
William?
The one that you did the charity.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. We had a charity event where one of the milestones was after we reached the certain amount raised, a bunch of us in the Northern Boards had to eat super mega hot spicy wings that Nem made, and they were insane. He only made 2 sets of wings. One was like the very hot,
Death.
which was ouch, and then he made like the death version, which was insane.
Well, Nem has this this sauce that he makes himself called Dance with the Devil, and so people, because we've got Burger Boy in the burger shop, people come to have the burger challenges. Like they want the super big one and the super spicy one. And I've never personally understood the super spicy one, and I think Nem takes it as a personal vendetta against anybody who tries this out. These guys will come and like, yeah, I'll do the Dance with the Devil, the super spicy one. And then they go spend $20 on a burger and they sit in the corner and they just physically weep salt into their own burger. And you can just, you're looking at this, like the least satisfying thing someone could possibly do. They're bright red, their face is clearly burning and sweating. And they're just like, you look at them and they look back at you, they're like smile and nod, put their thumbs up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's
Wait.
just terrible.
If you do the challenge, like, do you get a burger for free or
No. It's
Then what's the point?
You gotta be on the podcast.
The challenge for them is because they are going around to every burger shop and like defeating it. So Nem just takes it as a personal stance. We're like, well, you're an idiot, so I'm gonna melt the insides off.
That's so silly.
People are super into it, man. And
right.
then I remember this girl came down once and she ate the burger just like it was like a bag of potato chips. And we were like, I've watched little grown men sweating and tearing up trying to consume it. And this 25-year-old girl was just like, just chopped it like it was
Some
nothing.
people just go for it, man.
Yeah.
And then Nam was like,
Yeah, I think it was very much like I
He's
feel
back
like
in the lab. He's stirring the cauldron. Needs more spice.
I kind of feel like the devil himself like produced them into like this form to come eat this burger just to prove the Nem wrong.
So that Dance the Devil sauce was the stage 1 wings we had. And he had a stage 2 wings.
Oh
which
my
we had
God, he made it
even
worse? That's a
That was the
nightmare.
first time I've ever had like,
All right.
anything spicy where I could feel the spicy coming out on the next
I think
morning.
we should give the listeners a forecast of what's going to happen next week.
Yeah.
And a couple of it, like what's our season 2, like what's going to happen. A little
Season
bit.
2 premiere.
Yes. Like a little touch, a little bit, a dab.
Definitely more guests.
Yes.
More guests is a big one.
More guests, less William. Seems good.
Yes.
So
If you are
so-
keen to come on the podcast, please contact Kang at
just talk to me at normal.
Just
come
I'll,
to
I'll
me.
just read out Kang's personal phone number.
0412341234.
Although I think that what we've been traditionally going through more so now is going to the Patreons and getting them to jump on.
Yeah.
So it's a self plug to be like, hey, join the Patreon. But that's generally what we'll be
It's
going
more
first.
community input is great, and more like community involvement, having people feel like they're part of the podcast is a huge one. Number 2 as well is just gonna be more video content. Just making sure that our YouTube channel kind of stays consistent and uploading more things coming out. It helps that obviously in Magic we have a release every month, so at least I have one guaranteed
Every
thing
month.
per month.
Every 3
normally.
days.
So and then little things like we have new microphones now that we can now use for different content creation.
I really want to go do like a walkie style where we
Yeah.
we go do something and we record while we're doing it.
Like what?
We could just go do an activity and then record it while we're doing it. A podcast that I really like.
We've been talking about an activity for like
Yeah, but we got to ease it. Look, we're super busy people, right? We're all super busy. Us locking the reason that we record this at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night is because there's not a lot of other great times to do it. So the reality is maybe we should, as part of season 2, our season 2 is almost going to be like our New Year resolution, right? So our season 2 resolution is to be more realistic with our timeframes and actually achieving goals. I think you and Kang and I can do an hour activity and record it while we do it far more likely than organizing some giant manifesto thing. Like I want to do the go-karting still, but like the reality is, what weekend am I going to be going go-karting?
or the Space Marine thing.
The VR, yeah.
Yeah, I want to go. It's been like
We could record ourselves doing that on the thing.
Do we have microphones?
Yeah, we could just record.
Well, we need a video content, so that someone's got to go around with the camera.
We're an audio podcast. It's fine.
We just hear us go, shoot him down.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Daddy, you suck, Daddy.
And then we'll get an hour of us playing like Halo and just put the video on top of that, and they can just line it up. It's fine. It's perfect. I feel like audio podcast is the primary medium that people listen to. Right?
Maybe I'll record this Sunday. We have our Halo LAN. Again, maybe I'll do some recordings.
Yeah, because the whole thing is like when you watch a video like on YouTube. I don't know how you guys do it, but you have to stop what you're doing and then physically
Mostly
watch
lying
like
down
YouTube.
with Doritos and chips.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Whereas if with the audio podcast, you can do that while doing another activity, like vacuuming the club or sorting cards at the club or vacuuming the club a second time because it's filthy here, or like driving a truck. All these primary activities that I'm sure every one of our listeners is doing every day. If you can do that while listening, I feel like it's much more productive. Right?
Maybe.
Well, yeah. But imagine you when you get another set in 3.5 days from now, William. You're sorting it. You could be listening to the podcast.
Sign any more cards, bro. Enough.
Let us know in the comment section because I think a significant
Or you wanna
amount
be a
of
guest.
Join the Patreon and then tell us in the chat.
And
I
I'll
think a
guess.
significant amount of listeners are just listening to us at work.
And then be a guest.
Because you get a lot of people that work kind of classic like blue collar jobs where they kind of just need something in their ear.
Yeah,
Otherwise
absolutely,
you get bored.
And then be a guest.
Yeah.
Join us.
Yeah. What
part
are
of
you
the
listening
cast.
to a regular podcast outside of the broadcast?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
What do you listen to?
Rogan.
Oh, you listen to Rogan?
Yeah.
Do you listen to every single one?
Yeah, I listen to every single one.
Even like the UFC fighter ones?
Not the UFC ones, but
skip
if
those
it's just like information, like
I feel like Rogan's podcasts have really gone downhill at a rapid decline recently.
Really?
Why?
His guest variety is just real boring.
Well, if you do
no,
one,
it's not.
if
I
you-
think it's because you don't like it. I like
Yeah.
it. I like the new guests, like the stuff they talk about.
the thing is, if you do one every single day, there's only so many people you can interview as well, right?
It's just maybe it doesn't touch where your
I
Topics
remember
are,
like
right? Oh, yeah.
5-6 years ago, he would get like interesting people
Like what?
this guy, travel the world, or he's a professional, like goes and deals with animals and stuff.
yeah, he does still do that.
And now he's just mostly just comedy friends.
I mean that I think Rogan's style is what he wants, like who he wants to talk to. Right?
Yeah.
It's not that what interests you. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
I think that's what keeps even obviously we compare us to Rogan, but it's like the thing is like we're passionate about things, whatever we're doing
Correct.
right at that moment, and that's what makes it. I don't know if it's
Like,
interesting to anyone else,
like
but at
we
least
talk,
I'm
we
still
talk
enjoying
Magic,
doing
we
it.
talk Warhammer, we talk like
That's
card
about it.
games. Pretty much, that's what interests us. But you don't expect us to talk about finance and like how to buy property and property investment and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think it's being
Tune
passionate
in
about
episode 64 where I talk about NFL. Cool.
Yeah. But as long as we label it, that's the NFL thing. Somebody can come up to that episode and be like, "Nah, it's not my thing," and they can just go to the next one.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Pretty much.
Or what I really prefer you do is just to put it on repeat on play and then turn the volume down on your phone so that you can just get a bunch of listens. That'd be awesome.
Give us the analytics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
yeah.
the hits on the
Do you think
internet.
the system is so good? Do you think it knows when you're turning the volume down or listening to it? Because that's a strategy.
I'm
of
not
like
sure.
like the listening farms where they just have 1,000 phones listening to people's songs to get those plays up. Do you think?
Ah.
Do you think they? Because do they know? I'm convinced, right, that Spotify knows when I'm singing along to a song and it will put that into the playlist more regularly. I'm convinced of it.
Listen,
I'm
I'm ready to accept anything because at this point now, I'm losing my mind. Like I feel like technology just knows what's going on. I was watching a movie and one of the actresses was Emily Blunt, right? I've never ever looked up Emily Blunt ever in my entire life, right? I don't care.
Are you sure?
And all of a sudden I was all of a sudden
Deep in Reddit.
all of a sudden I was scrolling. The movie finished and I was scrolling YouTube, and then YouTube gave me a survey of like what movie was your favorite Emily Blunt movie? And I'm like, what the fuck? What does YouTube know?
I don't know. Well, I guess anything that happens on your phone, it's going to, because I'm logged into my browser that I use on the PC on my phone as well, right? So it's going to cross-contaminate a lot of it. But it's not super unpublic, so it's fine. But, I've completely exited my relationship with my my ex-partner. And I constantly get things like, how to get your wife back if your wife I actually
damn.
I could, if I open my Facebook right now.
Yeah, how does it know?
I could. I was like, does it know that I'm like? He's like, oh, this cunt's clearly depressed.
Is it just like, oh, his like GPS location is no longer around this GPS location?
Well, I changed to make myself less sad. I changed her contacts in my phone from like her name with some hearts to Lucas's mum, and I'm like, maybe the phone knows. But if I scroll through my Facebook right now, there'll be like 5 different people telling me we're looking for 15 guys who have just exited a relationship and want to build themselves up as men again. And I'm like, I am a man. Why are you trying to sell this course to me?
Dude, technology is cooked, bro.
It is what it is. It's
I'm in quite high spirits though. To be honest with you, we're getting stuff done. There's part of the, we're quite open here, whatever.
Dude, it's working. This videos are working.
Yeah, a big part of her problem was that I worked too much and didn't find time for things. And then since we've called it quits, I've had literally 0 time to do anything else. So she's 100% correct, and I'm like, now I'm just being more efficient.
Yeah, now you don't need the excuses anymore.
Exactly. Yeah,
you're free.
Yeah, I'm free.
All in.
I got so much admin paperwork done, and I picked up so many deliveries. It's great. I started work at 3:00 this morning, and then I'll be working to we'll be finishing around 11:30, 12 o'clock, and then I'll be back at work tomorrow at 3:30. It's great. I'm like fucking. I actually feel great. I hang out tonight, play some Commander with like Tom and Damo and William here. It was amazing. Monday,
Here's an episode idea. Danny and William just switch jobs for a day.
That would be me picking up William's kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And
William
sorting
doesn't
cars.
have a job. What does William even do?
I don't work anymore.
What? Oh, have you completely left the IT situation?
Yeah, I sold the company.
Whoa!
I don't know anything about this company, dude.
That's crazy.
Sold it.
I'm so proud of you,
Packed
William.
it. And then now I'm full-time Eternal Magic. Playing cards every day.
That's super exciting, man.
Not really. Just sorting cards every day now.
I guess so, but surely you're at a point where you can get someone else to sort the cards for you.
I do, but
Yeah, but
it's
you're
not
working
enough.
in this interesting field of like, hey, you have teams doing card game things, and you're a big card game like shop now. It's a whole business you've created from the ground.
Yeah, it's like me trying to obtain more Final Fantasy collectibles.
Not happening.
That's like the main goal, right? Of every card store in Australia right now. It's like, hey, how many collectibles you got? Hey, how many collectibles?
We've been having that conversation. Don't worry. I think I talked about this in the club, but obviously we're on the cast now. So I grew up playing like PlayStation and stuff like that as well, and I played. I think it's hard to remember which one it is, but it was like the turn-based Final Fantasy where it was kind of like 2D. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
it was the white border. I definitely had a V in it, but it could be
most of the early Final Fantasies were that 2D style. So you like 1 to 6 was still in that sprite 2D art style. 7 onwards started going 3D.
Yeah, so it was definitely before that then, maybe like 5 or 6 or something. But I didn't realize that Final Fantasy was the touchstone that it clearly is. I had no inclination that this set was going to be as popular as it clearly has been.
Final Fantasy kind of pioneered a lot of the popularity for that Japanese RPG, that JRPG genre we call
I
it.
feel like Final Fantasy, not all Final Fantasy was popular. Like you have like
there
7.
are 16 Final Fantasy games and 5 of them are relevant.
Like 7 is like the the top.
I could just give you, it's literally 6, 7, 10.
8. No, it's 8.
No one cares about 8.
8 Squall.
No one cares about 8.
Your Gunblade, bro.
Not in 2025. Everyone cares about 5. It's 5 or 8 anymore.
The Gunblade is such a...
Yeah, so it's 6, 7,
What is 6?
10. Final Fantasy 6 was the first one to reach America.
What was the original PlayStation 1 is just PlayStation, right?
Yeah, PlayStation. That's 7.
And then
was 7?
then you have Final Fantasy, the multiplayer one. Final Fantasy 14 is the multiplayer one.
Yes.
And then
And
Yeah, that's right.
and 7 is the only one that has a remake.
Yeah, they're doing a whole remake series now.
Yeah.
So that's because Final Fantasy 7
Yeah,
is...
this is what I owned. I
7,
owned,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. That one is huge.
And that was the only, this
That's
7
the
was the
best.
only one on PlayStation.
That's the best.
It was the one released on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I just lucked my way into
So
playing
good.
the
Final
best one
Fantasy
of
7 is widely regarded as like the most popular of the Final Fantasies. One of the most influential ones.
And a lot of people didn't know that if your life total is 7777, you start the fight with 77 hits, 7,777
There's a little
damage.
Easter egg cheat.
And is that like a callback to 7 being lucky in Chinese?
Not really, but it's just like if your life is just 7777.
They just had a little fun little Easter egg. Final Fantasy is one of those games where, because it's an open world RPG, there's so many
it's 8 that's lucky in Chinese. Yeah.
There's so many cool, cute references and Easter eggs into the game. But that's what William's talking about here.
Yeah, so you just start the game.
Final
and then
Fantasy 7
hits.
was important because it was the first 3D one and it was on the PlayStation. So for a lot of people, it was that childhood game. And it's still relevant to this day. A lot of people pick it up and play it.
pretty good.
But that translates over to, please, oh my God, Magic stock, what's going on?
Well,
the explosive amount of hype going into the set. They spoiled just the face commanders and a couple cards. Like the release is in June, so we're still 3 weeks. So
3 weeks?
3 months off.
Bro,
We're 3
please.
months off from the release of the actual set, and there's just been an explosive amount of hype that I have had constant messages coming to me being like,
Absolutely.
oh,
Have you
pre-order.
checked eBay?
Same thing. People that
The eBay prices are ludicrous
The
right now.
scalping prices are crazy.
$1,000 for a box.
Yeah.
$1,000.
The commander decks, the collector versions of the commander decks are going for $1,600 secondary market.
Holy moly!
That's
Let's go.
4 commander decks going for $1,600.
Yeah. And it's the same thing as we've seen a huge influx of people that aren't our regular Magic players being like, "Hey, are you getting this
Yeah.
thing?" And you're like, "Oh, I didn't,
I have people messaging me that don't play Magic. We have a fella in the community that plays 40k, Luke. He's decided to just pick up Magic again because of Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Welcome to Magic. I think a lot of people are coming back into Magic. Like we talked about last week. I think it's a great game to come back and leave, come back and leave. It's not like
Yeah.
any other trading card game
Yeah.
where you just leave and you never come back.
I
Magic
guess-
is like you can leave.
Your cards being relevant
Yeah.
if you come back 10 years later is pretty
That's right.
crazy. Because like you can even like something like a long-standing cards like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, you can't play with the cards you played with 10 years ago. But Magic, they're still super relevant.
Correct.
The
And some cards is like, oh, this card was
Oh,
shit.
here's a fun little tidbit. Newest information: the Marvel set isn't going to have commander decks.
oh,
Yeah.
That seems like such a misfire.
The Spider-Man MTG set is apparently not going to have commander decks.
What? That doesn't make
So
any
what is that?
sense.
It was like, you know, when big companies do like investor talks,
Yeah.
or whatever they call it. One of the investor talks, they're talking about how they're not going to have commander decks for that set, which feels like a giant missed opportunity.
Absolutely. Like
I
they're
don't know- I don't know
little
what-
heroes. Like that's the whole point of their thing.
What decision in the design or the business was it?
Is
Is
it
it
be
trying
like-
to sell more boxes?
Is it because now
the
that Beyond
bucket.
is always it's going to be in standard, so
Yeah.
they're going to focus down on standard?
correct?
Yes,
But
correct.
Don't
I guess
normally
if
every
they-
commander don't normally every standard set still come with a commander deck anyway.
Well, only as of the last 4 or 5 years.
So the
right?
theory, I have a crazy
Many
theory
years.
that maybe the
No, 'cause
set's
the
going to have.
command-
2020
used to
since
be-
2020.
Yeah, that's makes
Like Korea.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, so like because before that, Commander was its wholly own thing, and that was like you just have Commander sets as a whole separate thing together. They would touch on like planes of like previous sets or whatever, but it was never part of the intrinsic like
So whatever
release
now
set.
in Universes Beyond is legal and standard.
But take this with a massive grain of salt because I heard this through a post that was posted on Reddit. So who knows if it's actually true. The theory is maybe if instead of commander decks, they're going to try a starter deck product for a different format. Maybe there'll be standard decks. So
Yeah, that makes it like because the push has been for a long time to try and re-kick standard with success of like One Piece and Flesh and Blood and stuff.
So
they really want
the
to
power
kick that
of
off.
Marvel. Maybe they can get people trying out standard decks.
Yeah, that's right, Shumi. If you come, you're in an average hobby store where there's board games and things.
Can
being
you
sold.
imagine? I'm playing Boros Spider-Man.
Yeah, well,
I'm down.
You can imagine if they make those cards both good and accessible. You come to like a Friday night Magic where you have a standard event or whatever, or a standard on a Saturday, and the majority of people playing are like
It kind of makes sense,
Marvel
right?
cards.
What about-
Especially the casual person coming in.
yeah, some rando. Oh, that's cool.
A big part of Magic is trying to onboard new players.
Yeah,
Dimir Electro Energy deck.
yeah.
For the longest time ever, Commander has been the onboarding format, but maybe they can try and get standard back onto that,
Yeah.
getting new players in.
yeah.
So, and it makes sense because the average dude walking through the store being like, "Oh, dude, Marvel, Magic the Gathering, I kind of want to give MTG a try."
Recently,
Pick it up.
both Pokemon and MTG have like significant like big tournaments. Pokemon alone has like
Yeah,
a
big
4
uptick
to
now, right?
5K size tournaments.
Yeah,
recently,
yeah.
yeah. 4 to 5K. It's huge.
As the younger generations get further and further away from being able to buy a home, they spend more and more of their yearly income on like hobbies, essentially, right?
Pokemon. You like Pokemon?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun.
I want to try Pokemon.
Do you want to give it a go, gameplay wise?
Yeah.
I've heard people say it's
very
actually
toxic.
in a very good
It's very
spot.
toxic.
Have you not seen the new cards? Like the cards like say that you can't play any items.
Oh, but yeah, but it's on
So,
purpose. It's a competitive format. You're supposed to.
and it's very toxic.
Pokemon sets always just completely blow out the previous set. The power creep there. People talk about it in Magic, but power creep in like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh are both incredibly insane. Like thousands of points more damage than the previous set.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's designed to make you buy a new
Oh
product.
yeah, it's like
Because it's rotation as well.
yeah,
There is?
Yeah, it's
2
rotating
years?
very, very fast.
But like the power creep, generally speaking, out creeps the power like the set balance.
but not expensive. That's the thing. That's a good part about Pokemon is you can get a tier 1 deck, $200.
yeah. Yeah, Connor did mention that when we talked about it on the podcast.
It's 200.
You don't feel bad
Cheap.
replacing a deck then.
Nah. If you buy like alternate art, probably $500. But if you just buy base rarity, $200.
I think such a big part of that game is still designed around collectability. Like you're collecting, the collecting is the primary goal there, right? You got to catch them all. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, it's
Alright.
pretty good.
So speaking about Commander decks and onboarding new
Wait,
players.
hold on. I want to start something. I heard.
No. I
I
want to interrupt you.
Okay.
That's it.
I heard
That's all I got.
in the beginning of the podcast, Danny hurt his foot.
Oh, I did. I injured myself. This
Yeah,
week.
now you got William's curiosity. He doesn't know.
Yeah. So
What happened?
on
Tell
this
me
is-
about it.
This is the 40,000th time Danny injured his spell. So
Well, at the start of the week, I'm delivering every day for about 4 months now. I've been delivering it to ECU, which is the massive building.
boy, they're building it so fast.
construction.
Man. What
yeah.
is going on?
It's being controlled by Multiplex, which is one of the country's biggest building companies that's left that hasn't shut down. Right, super organized. They're throwing that building up at such a rate, it's insane. There's something like 60,000 tons worth of equipment and like building materials being delivered there every single day.
no shit, because I don't go to the city
weeks,
super
every
often.
single week, sorry.
So I'll visit like once every week.
Yeah.
And every time I pass by, new things pop up.
Anybody from Perth will be recognize the Horseshoe Bridge like area in the middle of the city, and it's the prime property position in our city. It's the between Northbridge, which is like the functional like
It's the
nightclub
leisure recreation
it's-
side of the city.
It's where they have all the pubs and clubs and like parks and stuff, and then that bridges the section right into the city where like Rain Square and all the big part of the city is. Anyway, for a long time they've just kind of neglected it, and they've done some silly things with like building train stations no one cared about and this kind of stuff, right? The last building design they had, it was deemed too confusing. So there was all these kind of like archways and alleys to get in and out of there. But what it did, it made it different. The idea was it would like kind of like Swiss cheese. People would be able to wander in and wander out. But because they made it the design that it made it just so people would completely ignore it or walk past it without realizing there's stuff even inside there. So businesses opened up and they shut down quite quickly because they weren't making any sales. So businesses that had been open for 10, 15 years, that were like on Hay Street, had been
Yeah,
convinced.
hey William, do you remember what that spot was before the ECU construction?
Hell no.
It was for the longest time, it was just dirt. It was just like there was
Yeah,
nothing there.
yeah.
It was closed off for a long time, and then they built what essentially they've done now, but they just did it was really bad design, and it was like there's multiple levels and stuff like this, and people didn't know. So businesses were coaxed from Hay Street and from the malls into that section. They've been operating for 10, 15 years, and they shut down within a year of being in this new place because customers literally didn't know where to find them anymore. Like they would go there on the Google Maps, and you'd be there, and you'd be like, "Where is the building?"
Yeah.
And these places shut down. So they've spent billions of dollars like rebuilding this whole section, and it's honestly really cool now. Like I was talking before we went to Carla.
The inner city really needs it because
Yeah, absolutely.
it's just hemorrhaging businesses.
There's so little reason in our modern society to go venture into the middle of the city, I think.
All I can say is after the whole COVID thing,
Yeah.
city became very
Remote
very-
working
yeah.
was huge.
Very,
People kind
very
of
quiet.
stopped needing to go to the city.
Well, the last time when I went to the city, that's pre-COVID, right? City is so bustling, like so busy and stuff. Like now, if you go to city, it's like it's just quiet.
It's hard. It was already like the major cities in Australia were already on a decline because things like major Westfield shopping centers are so good and they're so well fitted out that there's no real reason to go into like Myers in the city, like these flagship stores. They really had them. Like for us, it's like a Joondalup, and you go there, it's far less travel, it's far less like for parking fees and all those kind of things for
I
your
think
family.
people also realize the convenience of having things delivered.
So that's why they're building something like ECU, like the university, smack bang in the middle of the city because it's going to force people who have to attend that university to travel in there, and they're going to be going past the food vendors.
Yeah, we're going to have thousands of young people with potentially this expendable income, right? Yeah, and it's right next to things like pubs, restaurants,
Absolutely.
and shops. It's going to be all things that young people want to spend money on.
So yeah, like this. So they're building this massive ECU there, and it's going to be have some of the like the most advanced like learning technologies and like facilities and all this kind
I
of stuff.
believe a lot of it is government subsidized as well.
Yeah,
know what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still haven't heard about the foot or the feet or the leg.
All right, so
Okay, we got off track. What happened here? We started about the foot.
it was like 7:00 in the morning, and I stepped off of the truck onto like a pile of like sheet metal. It was fine to step on, but I just misjudged and I stood on it wrong. So I stood on there with the front of my foot, and all of my weight quickly transferred.
And you were carrying stuff?
No, I was just walking. I was just literally just stepping off the thing. I was actually trying to help someone out because they left their iPad on the stack of sheet metal on the other side. And I stepped down and I put my foot down on it. And all of my weight transferred through the center of my foot. So my entire foot pulled all the way back against my shin. Like if you can imagine like trying to like stretch your foot back towards your own shin, it bent all the way and it almost like completely touched my shin. So what I've done is hyperextended the tendons and the ligaments in my foot there. But I thought quickly that I'd broken something. The thing is, being on like a big multiplex website like that, if I admitted that I'd injured myself there, it would be hours, if not days, of paperwork because it's government contracts, massive building company, big issue. Could be a massive issue. So I blinked my way through it and I pretended like I was fine, and I got out. Like I finished the delivery, then I got out of there. And I'm I've done Muay Thai for years. I'm actually very good with pain. Like sometimes the detriment where I've injured myself quite bad, and then like weeks later I'm like, oh, I've fractured this or dislocated this, and I'm like, I just should have gone to the doctor earlier. And as I'm going through the day, I'm in quite a lot of pain, like blinding pain. I just kind of got through it, right? And by about 1 o'clock, I was like, no. This is I think I've broken my foot. So I'm trying to do my last delivery. Some guys are helping me sling the things off because I literally can't climb up and down the truck anymore. And then I drive the manual truck back to Wangara, get in the car, I drive to Joondalup, and I go into ED. And the nurse interviewing. And have you been into ED with the kids or anything like that before?
Once, I think.
Yeah, so you go in there and they interview you quickly.
Oh,
they try to work out what's going on.
They're like, are you going to die? If you're not going to die, sit down.
And then you should think. So I got sat down with like 3 other dudes who also had broken feet. And we're kind of exchanging like how long we'd been waiting there.
Yeah.
I waited about 8 hours to be seen in the thing. So
Sounds
8
right.
hours.
yeah. The funniest bit for me was like I had one last handed load and I did one carry with the sore foot. And I was excruciating, like just tearing up a tiny little bit, And I called the last guy that I had delivered. I was like, look, man, I can't do this. And they know me, like I never cancel anything. So like the guy was real good. He's like, oh, look, if you're canceling, I know there's something, you're not just getting out of it, right? But within an hour of me telling him, I had half of the companies I work for calling me to see if I was all right, which is lovely to know that they care. But I told one guy, and within like 3 or 4 hours, half of the people of the timber yards in Perth knew that I'd injured myself. Hadn't even told my mum or anything like that.
But I was linked up, dude. That's crazy.
So they did X-rays and ultrasounds, and then they worked out because luckily nothing's broken. If the thing was if it was broken, I'd have to get a moon boot, and that would significantly inhibit my ability to do anything throughout the day, right? So
what happened?
Well,
8 hours. Also, 8 hours at the ED.
Yeah,
it
was a long time. Lucas had called me a few times, and I was watching my.
Does it make a difference between like, is it private or?
Well, I thought I had a private hospital cover, which means I could have walked straight into a hospital and had the entire thing sorted out in an hour. But what I found out when I had my mouth surgery a couple months ago, my ex-partner had changed my insurance things because you have like majors and minors.
Yeah.
She changed my insurance majors to do some stuff with Lucas and just forgot to mention to me. So when I went into my mouth surgery, I thought I was going to have hospital cover, but I didn't. So I had to pay thousands of dollars more there, like $6,000 more than I was supposed to. And they even hit me up for money after. Like they hit me up for like another $900 because apparently they needed it. I was like, yes, it sounds like it. But
what are they going to do? Come out and rip your teeth out?
Well,
they will send like collections.
Yeah, they send collection agencies, and if I ever have to go back to hospital, they'll like hold me at ransom effectively. So, but I have to go in for more surgery. But what happens is it's like, I don't know if you've ever changed, if you're a big boy and you've changed your insurance, King, but you can't just get insurance straight away. So you have a cool
down period.
Right now I don't have insurance, and I'm kind of just like Fingers crossed.
Well, you're still young, so you don't have the medical.
You're young and you don't work in like a
yeah.
trade where you
Yeah.
could like you
Correct.
shouldn't
After-
crazily injure
after
yourself.
that's why I'm like
32,
fingers
yeah.
crossed. I should be okay.
Yeah.
Like me
The
doing
most high risk thing I do is skateboard, and it's like just don't be a dumbass, and I won't hurt myself.
well, me being on the road a lot, doing manual laboring and getting up and down the truck at heights.
You're high risk.
Yeah, it's a much higher risk, right? So I generally had quite high insurance. Anyway, I thought I had this insurance, but the cool down period is 6 months. So basically, once you start paying them, you can't claim anything for 6 months.
Gotcha.
Which is such a long time as well. It's kind of nonsense, but whatever. So
She's got to hope to not die in 6 months.
like when I had the insurance, like I set up a couple months ago for my mouth. After that whole situation, I'm still in that cool down period, so I still couldn't just go to a private hospital and get it figured out. Anyway, we got it done, we got it wrapped up, and I spent the last few days. Luckily, when I had my mouth thing, they gave me like oxycodone to last me for like 2 months, which is insane because that's enough to it's like heroin essentially, but it's enough. I took maybe 3 days of them because they're very hectic and strong. So I just took a few oxys. I did it on the Monday. I worked that Monday. I stayed in bed until Tuesday, 3 p.m. So I had the longest sick day I've ever had in probably my entire working life.
So what happened to your foot?
I just fucked it up a bit.
Like what?
I hyperextended the tendons and the ligaments.
Yeah, what did the
okay.
doctors say?
Yeah.
Just like your tendons are fucked.
Yeah, she said I need to not walk for a week and a half and take anti-inflammatories for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Have you been taking any anti-inflammatories?
I did 0 anti-inflammatories because I think they're bad for you.
Okay.
I didn't walk. The next day I stayed in bed till 3 p.m. and then went on the truck.
What's your status right now?
Fine. Oxy's doing the job.
Oh, there you go.
he's just masking the
Yeah,
thing,
Realistically,
pushing it to the corner,
nothing is broken.
sweeping
Nothing's
under the-
broken. Nothing's floating around inside.
So
There's
it's
no bone.
mainly the pain and the swelling.
Do you know
I
what-
should be letting myself recover a bit.
Do you know what oxy is? Sweeping it underneath the carpet.
Yeah,
It is 100%. But look, I take a kilo of vitamins a day. I'm generally quite healthy. I definitely don't get as much sleep as I should do. But I don't know. It is what it is. You know?
I don't know.
I gotta be
I'm
mad. I
not,
gotta
I'm
get
not
on
a
with it.
doctor, clearly, but I don't know what's the science on tendons. Do they just I'm assuming it's like a elastic where you just got to let it kind of like shrink back a little bit, right?
Yeah, there's
The
not.
cartilage.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot
No,
of.
it's the tendons. The tendons that got
Yeah, it's like
hyperextended.
somewhat like your
No, cartilage is between your bones.
I
That's the
know.
little
It's
squishy
like
bits.
it's like a, like you eat chicken. It's like that tendon.
Yeah.
Part. Yeah, it's like
it's like an elastic band.
yeah.
They-
Pretty much.
For the most part, they can't really heal.
Yeah.
So once they're
Unless
damaged,
you do
it's not-
stem cells.
Yeah, you actually can do stem cells. Yeah. So William's actually gonna fund me with all the money
Yeah.
he's made from Return of Magic to get stem cell therapy.
Nice.
Hopefully, it's gonna work on my hair as well.
You should have tendons coming out of your head.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
no.
thought
You-
you,
you
should
know-
go,
you know how it's
people
like-
go to what's it called, Turkey or something to do it.
Yeah, well, you know how I was joking about the I don't know, the Facebook things, but saying like, oh, has your wife left you? This is how you sort your life out. I've also been getting a lot of those hair ones, so clearly I've been talking about like my hair enough that it's trying to get me to.
What you're telling me is all those videos just get a hair transplant.
Yeah, hair
Go to the
transplants.
gym.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's a lot of like joining your male courses to find your inner alpha. All that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool.
Is that just therapy for divorced guys?
I think it's therapy, but on a subscription basis. Do you guys want to go? Should we join together? We can all go find out inner alpha.
I think I'd rather just go to therapy.
I guess so. We could.
Yeah.
Should we get? Or should we go to?
No, you know what our therapy is? It's this. We're doing this right now.
Oh, yeah, we should.
This is the podcast.
That is true. And then we're venting to all of our listeners.
Yeah.
Do you know? It'd be fun if we go to like a therapy session, like
Recorded?
legitimately as if we're a throuple and just.
Oh my god!
Wouldn't that be
That's
fun?
a good bit. We can hide the microphone.
They don't have to know that. Like the person doesn't have to know.
Boy, this is
It's so expensive though.
This would be a.
Nah, it'd be one session.
This would be a great.
$180.
That's a great TV. It's a YouTube episode where the three of us hide mics like wide, and we go into a group therapy session, like
Yeah.
a couples therapy session, and see how ludicrous we can sound.
I like you don't have to like.
We just got to make the therapist like seem like we're crazy people.
I did.
you get kicked out.
Nah,
They don't need to know. You just act like it's real.
The goal is to go as crazy as you can without getting kicked out. That's TV. Patent it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Copyright.
All right, I'll wait for you guys to do it.
No, you've got to come with us.
No, I don't wanna do it.
We're
No,
rolling,
why?
William.
What role do you want to be in the crazy TV?
Yeah, you're the top of the board.
Doesn't make any sense.
I've done couples therapy before, and like my couple
What if you
situation.
can walk into the therapy session with? So anyway, I killed 3 kids today.
No, they have a legal binding to report that.
Yeah, that's the moral dilemma, right? Like, you know how the
It's not a dilemma. They got to report. There's no dilemma there, buddy.
So, okay,
Tank's just trying to push
okay,
his
so
limits.
in what I'm studying right now with computer science, a big part of our courses is also like ethics, making sure that what we're doing is ethical, especially if you're doing like hacking or if you get information about someone's life more than they should be giving you, the ethics around it, right? So there's little things like, I don't know, like in IT, like let's say you unlock someone's phone and you find like child porn, right? Realistically, you're going to report that to the police.
You have to report it, yeah.
Correct, right? So let's say you open someone's phone and you find evidence that they've been like, I don't know, abusing their partner. What's the ethics there? Do you like report that or
Report
do you just,
it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You open the phone and they've used the KFC coupon twice. Report the fuckers. You're in a nanny
does your
state,
ethics
baby.
teacher tell you to report it?
Well, there's more like things that like, it's just like in the it's always within the context of the situation. You got to find out stuff like that, but they don't, they this is just situations that they put you into. They don't actually teach you how to actually just handle it. They just
Well,
like, it's on
what
you.
about lawyers though?
Lawyers is going to be crazy because lawyers are all about following rules.
Well,
Laid out by-
because but it's
They
up
can't.
to,
They
it's up
can't
to-
tell. Like they can't. If they know you have
Correct.
like they can't say it.
Maybe we should do that. We hire a lawyer for 1 hour and we just be like, I killed 7 people.
We hire a lawyer and then we take them to the therapist.
It's okay.
Well, yeah, would be good. You just go to like cheap budget because you can go to budget whack lawyers just at like on an hourly rate and just see what the craziest bit you can get away with saying is.
Yeah.
Have you ever do you guys know what the Chaser is?
Yeah, Australian TV.
Yeah, the Australian TV show, and they used to like they do edgy stuff. This feels like very much like a Chaser bit where they'll do stuff like this. You know,
No.
William's not keen. He doesn't want the funny TV.
yeah.
No,
this is
it's
what
lame.
we're evolving into. Now we're
No,
Well, now we're
do,
just-
do,
we're
do
just the
all
average
the things,
Instagram content
Do
creator.
all the things that you guys we discussed before we get into this.
all right. We will bring the lawyer and the therapist on the go.
Okay. When you guys do all those, we'll talk about this lawyer thing. We'll do one by one. Finish up what we need to do. One by one.
All right, we can hit one check mark off, which is the topic I brought today into the podcast.
What?
Commander.
Oh, shit.
We only ever talk about Magic the Gathering and Warhammer on the board.
We have copped a bit of shit because we don't talk about much else than Magic, but it's like,
Hey, we
I
talked
don't
about
know,
Warhammer last
just-
episode.
just play Magic,
This
man.
is the last episode. Go
Magic
back.
is one of the biggest
We talked
card
about
game in the
Warhammer.
world.
But the main thing is that we have a lot of new players. We've had a lot of new Commander players come in, a lot of new Magic players. And what I've realized more and more is that new players don't actually know how to build a deck, right? I think what's important is that you pick up a precon and you can go from there and it gives you a bit of structure. But from starting scratch, most Commander players don't know what's going on. And most new players, just in general, because building a 100-card deck is really tricky. The reason why I'm bringing this topic up is that the biggest Commander podcast, the biggest probably Magic podcast in general.
podcast.
Yep. Other than us,
Yeah.
the Command Zone, right? They recently had an episode come out where they talked about specifically brand new player perspective, a template to follow when you're building a Commander deck. This is kind of your general guideline as like, hey, maybe you should put this amount of this amount of this in your Commander deck. So I want to bring this up to you guys and see how you guys feel. All right. So we know that a Commander deck is 100 cards. Minus 1 commander, so you have 99 cards to work with. So their template is as follows. 38 lands. How do you guys feel about 38 lands in a commander deck?
I'm a 35 land guy.
I usually go 37.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, we're kind of all in that ballpark there.
I generally go like 37, 38, and then for every 2 like mana rocks or ramp, I'll take 1
Do you
out.
feel like the old adage of for every 2 pieces of ramp, take 1 out still counts?
Yeah, I think so.
Because for me,
Depends on
I'm a more ramp is always better kind of guy.
Yeah. It definitely makes the deck more functional, but sometimes you got to live like a little risky. You
You got to live a little
edgy.
risk.
35 is like my cutoff.
I definitely build decks with 35 in mind as well personally, but I think the reason why for new players you want to edge that
Consistent.
count up is because it's always better to be mana flooded than mana screwed.
You want to be drawing a land more than a third of the time.
Yeah.
Just more than a third of the
Because
time.
it's better to still at least have land so that you can still play a thing per
Yeah.
turn and then maybe get, your commander back out or rather than, because there's nothing worse than not having the mana. Not having the mana is way worse.
Well, there's a number of people here that come to the club that we could sit down with and they'll have a rough game, not playing like, oh God, I don't have any lands. And you get to the end of it and you go through the deck and you're like, bro, there's like 25 lands in here. Like, what are we doing?
Significant problem.
And I get it, like, because you don't want to cut fun, exciting, cool things that do fun, exciting, cool things for a basic land. but like that basic land will allow you to do anything, and sometimes anything is better than imaginary
Before you
cool thing.
do the cool thing, you need lands.
Yeah,
I really think a big part of new players is that they don't understand that sometimes in deck building you just have to get like your potato and staken. You have to get like
your potato and staken. William,
what's
how many potato and stakens have you had?
What's
What's the old adage again? No, bread and potatoes. Bread and potatoes.
Yeah,
what on earth is steak?
Bread and potatoes.
I'm gonna
What
call
is
it.
staken?
I'm gonna order staken every time I go to the restaurant.
Is that a new word or what?
No. My brain went to like steak for some reason.
Staken.
Wait, I'm talking about
I think
bread
and butter is the thing you're talking
No,
about.
it's
That's the basics.
What's the phrase again? Bread and butter.
Yeah.
Not bread and butter. Bread and potatoes. You got to get like your basics, your carbs.
What the fuck, bread and
Bread and
potatoes are you
butter.
talking about? Yeah, how often do you put potato
What
on your
bread is
bread?
staken? What the
Not
heck
on
is
the
that?
bread. It's like
So you
Okay.
just
Oh,
can you
wait, hold on. I missed the tough. And then this guy is taken.
oh yeah. William had his like a little vocal spiel last time.
Kane's just hanging out in the shop buying, just walking around with loaves of bread and bags of potatoes.
I was like, and then he called them. Now, can I have a steak and burger?
Steak and bacon.
Steak and burger.
But basically, you got to get like your fundamentals down in your commander deck. Before you can get to the fun stuff, you got to start with all the fundamentals. We're talking like your lands, your ramp, your card draw, yada yada yada. But for new commander deck players, they just want to get to the fun stuff.
Yeah.
They neglect the essentials, and then they kind of screw themselves in the long run.
Well, I noticed the second category that's the largest of the ones you're talking about. So it's like 38 lands. The next thing they have is like a 30 slot of like the next slot really of the biggest one is 30 cards, right?
Yep.
And that's the rest of the cards in your deck.
That's
so
the
they're giving you
plan
roughly
cards.
a third.
But that's actually so what they've done here actually is that this is a little bit over, so you can have overlap as well.
Roger.
So yeah, basically, the idea is that you get your fundamentals down, and then you have your fun cards to play
Yes,
with.
yeah.
And that generally does with their template here leaves you around roughly 30 fun cards to play
Yeah.
with, which is still a very generous amount.
Yeah, I think it's like saying a third of your deck is like you're going to dedicate that to the fun bit, and I think that's okay because I think it's better to have multiple commander decks and have each one of them focus on doing a specific kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then if you want to do more cool stuff, just build a new commander deck and have that do like that next new thing rather than trying to smush all these different concepts into one deck and them not really functioning that well because they don't have the support they need.
So after lands, one of the next most essential things you have to worry about in Commander, and it's very much a Commander thing, is ramp. So they recommend 38 lands and they recommend 10 ramp pieces. So ramp, is generally speaking in Magic, is either mana rocks, so artifacts that can generate you additional mana, or instants and sorceries that generate you more lands.
Sometimes if you're William, the ramp is just going through your deck until you find the lands you want and then putting them on top of your library.
That's right.
Which I know
Exactly seated, so it's every one in three draws.
We played earlier, right? And I was playing Brago, right? He's supposed to be a mill deck, and I played. There was a poof thing that stops you from activating artifacts.
What?
A push?
What?
Collect the oof.
Collector.
Oof? What? I don't know how to say it. But it's a stupid little green guy
Collector
that
Oof.
stops you from activating
All artifacts.
right? So you can't tap a Soul Ring for mana. You can't equip a piece of equipment to a creature or whatever. So we're in the same phase, right? So I've got 4 lands, so I tap 2 of them to play an Arcane Signet. Then I play another land. And then I'm trying to cast my Preston, which is like a little rabbit guy, and he makes in Brago. What Preston does, if a creature enters the battlefield and it wasn't cast, you make a copy of it. So I was going to have a fantastic turn. William decides that he points out that a poof thing is going to stop me from using my Arcane Signet to then cast the Preston. So I'm a mana down. I can't cast the thing I need to cast. And he goes, no. You can't do the thing, and I'm like,
take backsies.
I just won't play the Arcane Signet.
Yeah.
That's
Hell
fine.
no.
Yeah, I just won't play the Arcane Signet. He's like, no. You've done it now, and I'm like, all right. That's what I'm not a soft little bitch, so I will stick by the rules. The very next game, William is just going through his entire library to find lands because he hasn't got the land colors that he specifically wanted. I have no tax backsies in the same main phase, in the same instance of
It's
play.
not I don't need the color. I just needed lands.
Yeah, what?
I had no lands for 7 turns.
That's what a mulligan is for, bro.
I need mulligan like 4 times.
Yeah, well, why do you get mulligan better, man? Shuffle better. I don't know what are you
I
talking
shuffled
about?
so good. Like I shuffled 10 times.
But you
I
have to
couldn't
be
get
better at
lands.
it.
And then if I don't play 7 turns, no different. If I'm not there as well. So
Yeah. What
I'm the
I'm
worst.
questioning is why was the rules significantly different for you?
I'm
than
the
for me?
worst at missing out on like I forget
And
what's
I get
happening on the
alt-tab
table,
lands, okay?
and I'll accidentally like do a thing wrong. I'm like, oh shit, I got to do a take backsies. So I just let everyone do take backsies all the time because I feel bad because I do it.
I have a basic rule for take backsies.
It's like a brownie point thing. You can like give and take.
If it's in the same phase, if it's in the same phase and we're playing Commander, it's not a competitive, it's not like Highlander tournament. If it's in the same phase, takes backsies is fine.
No, because Danny's
nothing
gonna
changes.
go off. I know Danny's gonna go off.
Yeah, I was gonna go off. I wanted to fucking kill you, man.
That's why no take backsies.
So-
I know it. If it wasn't significant, I would have allowed it.
Sconcy.
Yeah, it's like I know he's gonna cast something shit.
I played Brago, right? And then I had a Suture Priest, and Suture Priest says when an opponent's a creature enters the battlefield, they lose a life, and if a creature enters my field, I gain a life. So with Brago, I bounce all my creatures, so I gain constant life.
yeah.
And then when they're playing opponents that they are, they're losing all this life, and they just happened to all be playing decks where they're gonna have a lot of tokens coming in. Just coincidence. So I was doing quite well. And then with what Preston does is Preston is like a little rabbit guy from Jumpstart. And he says whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you didn't cast it, you make a copy of it. So every time Suture Priest bounced from the Brago triggers, I just made a new Suture Priest. So I was slowly ramping the amount of Suture Priests I got. So then, Tom was playing Lathril, which is the elf that when he deals damage to a creature player, you make that many elves. So he dealt like 4 damage to me, made 4 elves, lost 3 life per thing. So he was losing more life by hitting me than when the damage he was doing to me. And I was having...
It was pretty good.
It was pretty good. But then William decides that was too much. The point is, I think take backsies is an integral part of a casual game.
Take backsies is good as long as it's not gonna be like a core piece coming in.
Take backsies is like a discussion you have before the game starts.
Yeah,
right?
this is my discussion, William.
I don't mind you getting take backsies. I don't mind at all. But it was a core piece coming in that you're gonna go off. You're gonna go off.
I'm going to remember this, William. I'm going to remember.
Hell no, going off. No, hell no.
So what do you guys feel about 10 ramp pieces in a commander deck?
I don't mind.
Is that too much?
No.
10 is about right.
Wait, look. You have your Soul Ring,
Yeah.
and then you have like an Arcane Signet,
yeah, it's
and
true.
sometimes you have like a what's it called?
So I'm a very like bland kind of like deck builder, right? I like my 3-color decks, and in my 3-color decks, I'm always Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, 3 Signets, 3 Talismans, and then 2 more like random artifact rocks. So I think
you are going for around that 10 mark.
10 is
whether
actually
you meant to or not.
This is crazy because 10 is actually about the average I normally do as well.
Yeah.
Because I think
About the same.
in Commander, getting that extra acceleration, being
hold on.
that 1 turn, 2 turn mana ahead of opponent is very
It is
important.
true.
So in my Dragon deck, monocolor, I have like Soul Ring, and then you have like
Arcane Signet.
Arcane Signet. I still play Arcane Signet,
You might as well. 2
and
mana
then I
rock.
play Mana Volt. Try and
Well, then you
Dynamo.
can't anymore. It's banned.
Mana Volt.
Oh, sorry. Mana Vault. Yes, of course.
And then I'll play some other artifact that produce like curse. What's it called?
What?
Curse.
City, horse,
No.
frog.
The 2
Spaghetti.
3 mana ETB becomes a creature in play.
What?
What?
It's a curse mirror. Curse mirror.
That's not ramp.
That's not a ramp.
It's a mana rock.
It's a mirror.
Does not count as ramp.
He's trying to check your hair.
No,
out.
it's a 3 mana and get it mana as well. It becomes a creature and it comes to play.
That's not what that is.
It's a ramp.
Oh,
It's a mana rock.
It's the red one.
Yeah. It is a mana rock.
Is that called Cursed Mirror?
Yeah. It's a 3 mana that you can tap for 1 red.
I think we're thinking of the other mirror one.
Yeah, we're thinking of becomes a copy of a thing
Yeah.
like board.
Yeah, it does become a copy of a creature on board as well as a mana rock.
Yeah, but
it's a 2-in-1. So when it ETBs,
You're
it
thinking of
becomes
the
a
one with the
creature.
goat in it, right? And he's thinking of the one with the red guy holding the mask.
Wait,
Yeah.
what? I'm thinking of the guy. I'm thinking of the mirror, like the art that is an artifact that's a mirror, and you pay mana and you clone a thing.
Yeah, that's got the goat guy in it. The picture.
Is it?
Yeah, and he's thinking of the.
Where
run-
are we right now?
I don't know. Anyways, I play Mana
I also
Gazer.
got this weird feeling like I was rising while you guys were sinking. I don't know what
Mana
kind of
Gazer
vibe
as
that
well.
guy
And
had.
then what is that? At each red for each
You're
tap
mono
land.
red, so you probably technically you would count like Ruby Medallion as ramp?
Yes. Yes. I play that as well.
The medallions in monocolor decks, or even sometimes in dual color decks, is so good because like
Yeah.
a Soul Ring will tap you for 2, so it's going to help you cast that next spell with 2 extra mana.
Yeah.
But a Ruby Medallion, you could cast 4 spells that turn, and it's going to reduce them all by 1. So you've net yourself 4 mana.
The important
So
thing
good.
to think about ramp as well is that it's not always strictly ramp. It can be things that just help you generate to make sure you're getting lands consistently.
Correct. So I play like the shamans as well. And then I play like incubators.
Think about a green deck. A green deck
it's 10,
oftentimes is
yeah.
running mana rocks alongside your cultivates and alongside your 3 visits.
The
and stuff.
anti-artifact is so there's so many artifacts like treasures and things that are so strong. The anti-artifact stuff is very prevalent. Green has such an advantage that most of theirs are just like a cultivate where they can go get it in, and most people aren't going to counterspell cultivate. If you're playing like competitive Magic, people will actually do that 100%. Like they'll counter a Soul Ring, counter a cultivate because it's just it's such an advantage. But because the cultivate's already put the lands in the field, there's no like destroying them later. You know what I mean?
I truly believe if you're versing a like blue-green mana ramp style deck, just stop the cultivate, stop the mana from coming out.
If you've got the opportunity, absolutely, yeah.
Definitely. What's the next?
The next one is a big one, card advantage. So card draw or any sort of thing that gives you more card
I
advantage.
used to not believe in that, and now I do.
So this
play
template
a lot.
says 12. It recommends 12
Ooh,
pieces
that's a
of
lot.
card advantage.
It is. I think we're 30 years plus into Magic. There's literally hundreds of thousands of cards. If there's a warrior creature that you like and you're playing a warrior creature deck, there's a warrior creature that just happens to also draw a card. And it's like every little niche you've got, there's going to be a guy that is doing your thing and also just happens to draw a card.
Within your own strategy, you're almost going to always find a card
Yeah.
that plays the strategy and draws your cards.
You've got so many options. There's the space there to look for the niche things that just kind of fit in. Like a red does a lot of
Exile
exile
top,
top of your
yeah.
library. Yeah, there's so much of that now. That's just straight card
Wheel of
advantage.
Fortune,
You
yeah.
are forecasting it to your opponents, but it's such an advantage because you just have more.
So
Basically,
do you feel like
additional
12
hand.
is too high or too low?
I'll play a little bit less, not too much.
I think 12 is a good number. I subscribe to in Commander, card draw is paramount. Because you're versing 3 other players, generally speaking, so
I think it depends on color.
It's not my 1 card draw to your 1 card draw. It's my 1 card draw to 3 opponents' card draws.
The way they've bracketed this, is it like this is 12 of this and then this is 38 of this? Or is it like there's crossover?
There is
right?
overlap. So if you actually do the maths on all the numbers they have here, it's 108.
I think
there is some overlap.
The card advantage thing is very subjective to colors as well.
Correct.
So if I'm playing red, there's not many card draw.
Yeah, so you have to lean into the exile top library. Yeah.
So pretty much is exile.
But this is about card advantage. So that exile draw counts.
correct. But not
Anything that can
it's not
get you
so
ways
many,
to,
though.
so that you maintain a card advantage
Correct,
or not
correct.
lose cards in hand.
The thing I think of the most is something like Great Henge, where Great Henge is like tapping for mana, so it's ramp, but it's also every time a creature ends, you put a counter on that creature and you draw a card. And it's like, so it's both card advantage and ramp. It's like it's both of those things. And I think there's lots of, not many things that are as efficient and as good as Great Henge, but there's plenty of instances where there's things like creatures that can do multiple of these tasks at the same time. And like trying to maximize those is like a super advantage.
Yeah.
So once again, I think card advantage or any sort of ways to draw cards in Commander is so paramount because there's nothing. Because when you're down to 1 or 2 cards left in hand and you're top decking, you're effectively out of the game. You've basically no longer have a bid in the race anymore.
Like, I really like that. What's the Lorien, the blue one, the new Lord of the Rings
Lorien
card?
Revealed.
The Lorien Revealed. I like, we're playing it in Highlander, but I love putting it in like every Commander deck I can as well.
It's a 5 mana card that just says draw 3.
Yeah, it fires you a land if you need it for 1 mana, and later in the game when it comes up, you just draw 3 cards. Like so you get 5 mana is fine. So it's such those little things. It's like filling both of those tasks, and I really like
And
that.
it's so important to reiterate to newer Commander players that these cards may not be the most exciting cards to play.
Absolutely,
But
yeah.
they just smooth
Very core.
everything out. They smooth things out. Like, what was it? The green mana card Harmonize?
Oh yeah,
Foundation.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's not exciting, but it smooths your deck out.
Correct.
Put it in, you won't regret it. You're never going to be sad about drawing extra cards.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, all right. And the next category is targeted disruption. Mainly disruption, not just removal, but targeted ways to affect your opponent.
I think this is something that a lot of people don't
Correct.
play.
Now,
Struggle with,
this
Yeah.
template recommends 12.
12 seems like a
pieces.
lot.
So with targeted disruption, it's not necessarily direct removal. It's things that also just affect your opponent's board.
Actually, it's not wrong. Like my dragon deck, it's not like spells. Sometimes it could be a dragon.
Yeah, it can be a creature
enter,
ETBs
and
that
then
deals damage.
or kill or things like that.
The classics in this are things like Chaos Warp, which removes
Correct.
any permanent Beast Within, which
Yeah.
destroys a target permanent.
Source
then
to
you've got Source to
Plowshares,
Plowshares,
correct.
Path to Exile, those kind of things.
So in this case here, it also target disruption also means counter spells. And I think I actually
Removals.
think 12 is about right. I think
Yeah.
10 to
Sure.
12 is about
Yeah,
right.
that's correct.
I think
Not
I
wrong,
really
not wrong.
recommend. I think the problem with Commander is that players need to be more comfortable interacting with each other's boards and having more pieces of directed removal.
Yeah.
How many times has a game run away because there's just a single enchantment that can't be interacted with?
Absolutely, yeah,
or
yeah.
like there's just happens to be an artifact that
Like
feels
a
someone's
card
energy
named
and
Blood
it's
Moon.
unstoppable.
One that I've seen go out of favor and then come back in slowly is I think it's 4 mana. It's mono white and it destroys 2 target permanent charms.
Return to
artifacts.
Dust.
Return to Dust.
Fantastic card.
Absolutely, yeah. And it went out of favor for a long time, and then it started to creep up. Like they got some cool art printings. They started putting it back in commander decks, and it's like I think because it got outclassed by like cheaper, more cost-effective things. But the fact that it hits 2 targets,
Yeah.
I think is a massive deal. If you can hit someone's like doubling season as well as like an annoying artifact like a ghostly prison that stops you being attacked, being able to clear those out of the way to allow yourself to get through is such
Yeah.
a massive deal.
Sincerely, artifacts and enchantments are the most important permanents I think in a commander game to have removal for.
Yeah.
Creatures tend to get hit by random pieces of board wipes, combat, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Artifacts and enchantments tend to stick around for way longer, and they're usually the engine pieces that make a deck insane. Like think about doubling season. If a doubling season is on a board, it needs to die.
Yeah.
Like Blood Moon.
And things like swords and equipment that make you unblockable. Like if something's unblockable, it's you can now
Effectively,
can't deal with it,
yeah,
right?
it's effectively
you
maximum
need to
threat.
be able to have a space to remove that. I think it also brings to the same vein. I think having some lands that are interactable with the rest of the board is super exciting. Like the Homeward Path is one that returns all your creatures to yourself if
Still
they're
useful.
controlled. If it's
Still
stolen.
very, very useful.
Maze of Ith, is the one I'm thinking of. Being able to return something out of combat and people primarily not being able to interact with that is very handy.
You make the Voltron player very sad.
And then in the same route as that, when we talk about interaction, I'm thinking more of now I've forgotten the name of it. The way you just tap it and it destroys target land. It's also a land.
Strip Mine Wasteland.
Yeah, Strip Mine Wasteland. But these are expensive versions of these cards. I know there's cheaper versions, more cost effective versions.
This is my controversial opinion. We don't necessarily need mass land destruction in Commander.
but you need
But I feel like
targeted.
Wizards needs to be comfortable printing a couple more pieces of ways to disrupt the land play just ramping excessively.
Well, red and black both have efficient ways to do this. Like you've got Sinkhole and you've got a braid and stuff like not a braid.
I know the ones you're talking about.
There's the Molten Rain, those kind of things. And I think them being played in Commander is more and more prevalent these days because removing something like even just a Rogue's Passage, which you can pay 4 mana and make it unblockable, can really shift the tide. If someone has one of those, because for the most part, there's no land destruction anymore, so you can't interact with that. It's like they could just kill you in 2 turns.
I want them to print a card that just says destroy 1/3 of target player's lands.
1/3. It's going for the third.
Just go for 1/3. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, you could word it better.
I think
but you sit on a game sometimes and you can see like everyone's playing a regular Commander game, and then the blue-black AC player has like 18 lands out, and they're just dropping haymakers every turn.
Yeah. Well, I think there's I see what you're saying. Yeah. You could like just to scale back someone.
Well,
you're
there's a
not
card
blowing
called
them out.
Balance, but it's banned.
For good reason. I think balance is a little bit too much.
Yeah, I see what you're saying though. Like for that very reason, you should just tie
Like
up
18
players'
is
lands.
too much lands. If I can just get rid of 1/3 and you get back down to 12 lands.
When you're playing like a AC deck and you're sitting across the table and it's turn 3 and they've got 9 lands and you're like, shit.
Like, what the fuck? It's like, if you were an artifact player, I could try and get rid of your mana rocks.
Yeah.
But lands, I just can't interact with. Your ramp is insane.
I think there's a cost-effective strip mine called Tectonic Ridge. I'm fairly certain.
There's a few. There's like ghost quarters and stuff.
Ghost Quarters, yes, that's a good one. Yeah, Ghost Quarters have some cool arts over the years as well. Definitely worth having a look.
But they replace the lands, so it's not ramp disruption.
Yeah,
Unless you play opposition agent.
again, getting rid of something like a Gaze Cradle.
For sure.
Something like even just the Rogue's Passage, massive difference. Something like shutting someone's Urgerberg off or their Cabal Coffers, big deal as well. Urgerburger.
Oh, that is the Ugga Bugger.
I'm
I
here
like
for the
Urgerburger.
Burgers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can eat my Urgerburger as well.
It's like when you're versing
Staken.
back when lands as a strategy started becoming more and more predominant in Commander. Like you had Lord of Windgrace come into the meta.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you have the lands player just go nuts with all these cool fancy utility lands that can't be interacted with. It was like, this sucks. I need to remove things. And
It's
I
definitely
cannot.
something to be mindful of. Is like the general status is to not mess with people's lands, so it's easy to like lean into that.
I'm gonna pioneer a new world of interact with people's lands. Just let people. I think every strategy in Magic the Gathering, it shouldn't be taboo if there's also a counter strategy.
No. Turgid stays taboo.
That's okay.
Every other thing can be fine.
I'm saying that if for any strategy that can exist,
Yeah.
Tailgate should be
the
banned.
counter strategy shouldn't be taboo.
Yeah.
If ramp exists as a strategy, the counter
There
to
should
ramp
be an anti-ramp.
shouldn't be taboo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this whole like no mass land destruction thing makes sense
Mm.
because going back to zero is very annoying. But there should be more ways to directly interact with lands. Personally,
I can't remember the name of the card now. You guys might think of it, but there's
Mm.
one where whenever a player plays a second land,
Yeah,
for
it
the turn,
bounces back.
They have to bounce
Yeah.
the second one back. I love that because it really
Conundrum.
yeah, it's like confounding
it's a blue
conundrum,
enchantment,
whatever.
right?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and I really like that
Can't
because
fetch land.
I really actually that's a good point. Maybe Magic.
true.
Maybe
Can't fetch
Magic
land with that.
needs more like cards that say if the
Confounding
opponent's going to
conundrum.
play a second land this turn, or instead they can't.
It's
Yeah,
confounding conundrum.
It'd actually be cool to see that on like a commander, but have it as like the eminence. You know, like how the vampire has the eminence from the
Oh,
thing.
just play that as like
Yeah.
the anti-ramp commander.
Well, the fact that then players have to think that might be on the table and they might try to divert their strategy just a little bit. You know what I mean? But like an eminence commander, what would like it'd be some weird land blob, right? Or like a goblin that's like has like a. is
Nah,
doing-
I think Eminence needs to stay in the graveyard. Yeah,
You reckon they'll ever bring it back?
they did. They did it once. In March of the Machines, they printed a 5th Eminence commander, and now it's the most popular Mardu commander.
Really?
Yeah.
What does it do?
Not
Do you know?
Mardu. No, it's what? It's like it's Knights. It's Knights tribal, but it's one of the most popular commanders in its tier because it's another Eminence commander.
Yeah.
Every
It just-
time they print Eminence, it's just insanely good.
I guess it's incredibly powerful for your thing to do the thing even if it's not on the table.
The only Eminence commander that isn't like super played is Inala, mainly because Wizards is and she's weird and she does like kind of a weird strategy.
Is that the original Knights one? The black
No,
and white
Wizards.
one?
It was the Wizards Eminence because there was 4 Eminence commanders, right?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I know there's the dragon, which is
Dragons,
which
cats,
is incredibly
vampires,
strong.
and wizards were the 4 they did.
Oh yeah.
It was a tribal set in 2017.
It's crazy because I know the first 3: the cats, the dragons, and the vampires.
Everyone forgets the wizards one.
Yeah, I just don't remember that at all. Like, even now we've talked about it, I can't even picture it.
It's mainly because
They're
in that
reprinted
commander deck,
in Secret Lair.
in that commander deck, it had Kess. Kess Dissonant
Oh,
Mage.
Kess was great.
Most people just played Kess.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
All right, so after Target Disruption, Mass Disruption 6.
Yes,
It's
I
board
agree.
wipes, right? We're talking about board
Not
wipes?
necessarily board wipes. For disruption, it could also be things
Like
like
farewell
anything
and
that interacts with multiple opponents. So mass disruption includes things like Grasp of Fate. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I play a lot of these. I play Hour of Devastation.
I
in my
think
Dragon deck.
I think 6 or 5 pieces of board wipes is fine.
Yeah, must.
I actually think these days you need to actually up the number of board wipes in the average deck.
Just bring it back.
I think so.
Sometimes it gets out of
hard 'cause
control.
you don't want to get in that like cycle where people are board wiping every turn and it doesn't
No,
get
that's
anywhere.
okay. That's okay. Multiple board wipes, people need to just play around it. Because I think these days, Commander's getting more and more board stalemate-y.
Yeah, but isn't that also a stalemate where there's nobody has anything and you just kind of starting building
I
again?
think I think the average Commander player is playing way too hard into this board and getting punished by board wipes.
Yeah.
When like you need to be playing a little, like I teach Commander players all the time where sometimes you need to just be a little bit more conservative with what you play. If you're already winning the board, it's okay not to just empty your hand because you have to always expect that at some point someone's going to interact with you.
Yeah, that's true. I see what you're saying.
So,
I
and
did-
if you're left unplayable after a board wipe, you've probably played poorly.
Yeah,
I think.
I definitely agree with that. I think having a strategy of how you're going to come out of your own board
Yeah.
wipe is very important because some people just board wipe and then they take the turn, and by the time it gets back around to them, everyone has stuff back on the table.
Correct.
And they look behind now.
Yeah, that's a big one actually you mentioned is there as well, was where the Commander player, like the person who just kind of board wipes and they don't have a board at all. It's more important to develop your own board and try and push a strategy than it is just to constantly board wipe.
Just yeah. And I think people get in that trap of like they feel like they're in control because they're constantly board wiping. It's like, yeah, but you don't really achieve. You're not getting any further ahead yourself. I think people get really salty about something like Cyclonic Rift, where it's super one-sided, and I can totally understand that because it's such a blowout. But at least it allows that person to finish the game theoretically.
Yeah.
They can then push through. Whereas like just a general like Day of Judgment, it just blows everyone out. It's like you probably have to end your turn there most likely without much more of an advance.
That being said, I'm very biased because I don't like Battle Cruiser Commander. I don't like that I'm going to sit in my own corner and do things and eventually someone just has the
it needs to be
biggest board.
interaction. There's a beast from Shards of Alara. When it enters, it returns all lands to
Shards of Alara?
Yeah.
Child of Alara?
Shards of Alara.
But the card is Child of Alara, right?
No, it's some sort of beast guy. But when the beast enters the field, everyone returns all of their lands to their hand.
Oh.
Or I think it actually exiles all lands until he leaves the battlefield. That's what it does. Yeah, and it's like I like that one because it's both interacting with everybody and it's doing the land thing like we just talked about as well.
Everyone's just playing with what they got.
Yeah, just whatever you've got
Crazy.
is what's going on.
Maybe that's the game plan against AC.
It's true. Yeah. Deal with me now.
And then after those fundamental pieces of like ramp, card advantage, and interaction, then it's like your engine pieces, your fun pieces, your plan cards. They call it plan cards. I actually don't mind that.
Is
word.
that because that's your plan of what you're going to do?
It's your plan of what you're going to do. So I normally call them engine pieces, but plan pieces make sense. This is your execution of how am I going to play with the strategy that my commander presents.
True. I guess to me, when I think of engine pieces, I'm thinking about like if you're playing a Knights deck, an engine piece would be something like, like tribal pieces of equipment or like, anything, things that are like even like some of the creatures, but they're going to give all your other warriors plus X. And then you have the rest of the cards. But I do like the plan kind of encompasses all of that. It's called the creatures that you're doing and everything.
The funny thing is that before this kind of template recommended guide even came out, I've been building commander decks for a very, very long time. I've been playing commander for a while. I don't want to say I'm like the say-it-all for deck building, but I like to say that I have enough experience behind it. And it's funny, but this template actually matches quite similar to the newest commander deck I built. I played Amanatu. I'm playing a black, white, blue enchantment style deck, and it's pretty similar.
Yeah, how did that go to you on Burgermander there, mate?
Well, I was playing a bit too strong, and I got targeted too hard.
At the Burgerman event, the three of us played on different tables and like was interacting with the community. And I think at some point we both looked over at Kang's table and were like, "What are you doing? Why are you trying to mess with our loyal fans so much?" He got his juice though because they bullied him out of the next two games.
This thing is where like you go too fast, too hard, and then people will just kill you, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a thing in Commander which I like to say is that you don't actually want to be first place in a Commander game.
Yeah.
For majority of the game, you want to be sitting around. You don't want to be first. You don't want to be last. You want to be sitting at second and third spot. You don't want to be in first place because at some point someone's going to blue shell you.
Yeah.
Someone's going to try and just hit your board real hard and you're knocked back. But if you can just creep up in the middle there somewhere and eventually build your strength, you kind of conceal how powerful you are, and then when it matters, explode out and go for the win. Yeah. That's what Commander's about.
1 turn kill.
We've talked about it here on the podcast before where I constantly recommend people like take me out when they have the opportunity to do it. And traditionally that's been ignored.
Yeah.
Now people are starting to take the advice. I'm getting bullied out of games much earlier than I'm used to.
I just play Commander. If I build my own deck, it has to be just in team.
The just due was I was sitting in a Commander game after I popped off that one game, and after my board got removed, an opponent just hit me for 38 damage. And it was one of those, like, logically speaking, I wasn't really much of a threat, but he just killed me first anyway, so the game could continue. And I was like, fair enough. That was my bad. I built a deck that was a little bit too degenerate.
There is something funny about the fact that a lot of these people came so they could interact with us and play games, and their first thought with Kang was like, let's remove him from the game.
Hell no.
I don't know about like if you get the same thing in your game, Kang, but quite often like if I'm playing with like customers and people from this club and like even just friends, like, people will tend to not target me. Or less friends and more like regulars from the club, right?
I don't have that effect.
Yeah, people won't target
I'm way
me,
more
and
punchable.
I'm like, I think because they don't want to be awkward about it, or like like, oh, this is the story or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not to big ups me. I just think some people get awkward about it, and I'm like, they'll clearly attack someone else. I'm like, you should definitely.
To be fair,
I don't even have blockers. Like, what are we doing?
I'm normally very honest in a Commander game. So when I see someone is like kind of hesitating on what to remove, I'm very honest.
Yes,
I'll just be like, you need to kill this on my side of the board or that side of the board. Like these are the viable options. Because I think a big thing about new plays as well is just being very transparent and trying to teach people about threat assessment.
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, I think the threat assessment is incredibly high because a lot of play is done like I attack you for 2. Or someone attacks you for 2 like early on, and you're like, "That's my arch nemesis."
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the game, like someone like Nick comes to mind a lot to me. Like Nick will then like target that person to the end, and it doesn't matter what the other 2 players are doing. If they're doing like heinous nonsense, Nick will like ignore those 2 people and just target whoever attacked him first. And you got to think about like, I know you want to kill him now, but like once you're done with him, you're going to be easy pickings for these other 2 players.
It's playing Commander like a board game or playing Commander as a game to win kind of strategies.
I think it's a board game.
Yeah,
You really
for
have to
sure.
play.
Nick is definitely playing it more like
Yeah.
a board game where he's going in and being like, "Oh, I have an attitude thing. Oh, I'm gonna hit this guy now." So
I do. There's something to be commended though of committing to a bit and being like, I'm just going to murder the first person that touches me.
yeah. So like a big one that comes to mind as like a massive threat thing that people seem to go under the radar is Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp is a one mana artifact.
so gross.
Constantly goes under the radar, and it should be
It has to go.
giant alarm bell to be removed.
Absolutely.
Skull Clamp.
The card advantage is insane.
Insane, and it usually builds around the strategy of the deck itself.
I quite like putting in I try not to have too many staple cards, but Skull Clamp feels like one because it's one to play, one to equip, and it draws you 2 cards. What I really like to do is
One mana, draw 2 cards, and it sacrifices a creature. Very efficient.
I like to pop it on my commanders, especially ones that I know are going to be removed, because it will at least you get some advantage when your commander, like something like Mizzix, is clearly going to get removed. But also, some people will hesitate about removing a thing now. Like, well, I don't want to give him those 2 cards, so it might have to make them think second guess about whether they're going to actually go ahead and go do that thing as well. Such an advantage.
So
for sure.
this is coming from a competitive Magic player's mindset because I play a lot more competitive Magic. In one-on-one Magic, the way you measure out card draw and your hand versus your opponent's hand is not necessarily how many cards I can draw and how many cards my opponents can draw. It's more of a matching of how many cards do I have in my hand versus how many cards my opponent has in their hand. You have to see it more as like a rope, like a tug of war, as a back and forward swing, right? And you always want to maintain a somewhat parity in the middle.
Yeah.
So, for example, a big thing in competitive Magic is making sure you're ensuring one-on-ones, right? If I'm spending 1 card to do a thing, my opponent's also spending 1 card to do a thing. If I'm ever spending 2 cards to counter their one thing, I'm already at a massive disadvantage.
Massive disadvantage, yeah.
And there's that back and forth swing of like things like the card balance is huge. So there's a card called Kim Torak, which is a card that says your opponent discards 2 cards. Huge. Because what it is that by making your opponent discard 2 cards, it's like you've drawn 1 card.
Yeah.
Because you're now up 1 card. Make sense?
And I think that's why something like Force of Will, which is one of the most powerful cards of all time, which forces you to discard another card, has to make you think like the thing that I want to counterspell right now has to be worth the 2
Force Will is an
cards
incredibly
down.
powerful card, but it's inherently actually fairly balanced.
Yeah.
And so in Commander, because once again, you're already in Commander, I prioritize card draw so massively because you're already technically always down card advantage. Because it's not my draw versus my opponent's card draw. It's my draw versus 3 opponents' card draw.
Yeah, true. You're always the
so
third
my
down.
card draw is inherently always important because I have to see it in my head as when it goes back to my turn, I'm technically 3 cards down on my opponents. Because it's always me versus 3 other people, right? So when a person plays a Skull Camp, every single time they draw 2 cards, in my brain, it feels like I've lost 2 cards.
Yeah, you're going down. Yeah.
So that's how
It's like that.
that's how the competitive mindset comes in on how you see card advantage. It's not pure numbers. It's more like my number match my opponent's number.
Yeah, and they're just getting more of an advantage on like what answers they have for the rest of the
So
table.
there's things like Ristic Study should be removed immediately. Skull Cap always remove immediately.
Yeah. Mystic
Card
Remora,
advantage
all
pieces
those
are
kind of things.
usually massive threats that go under the radar.
Yeah, it feels hard to spend a whole like targeted removal on something that's small as like a Ristic Study, but that Ristic Study is going to put in so much work over the next 3 turns.
Correct. Because people will like to be like, oh, maybe we should hit that giant creature, but sometimes that creature's not the problem. So, an example is the giant cactus from the Final Fantasy set. The
That
cactus
guy must die.
It's a 7 mana 1/7 that says when it goes to combat, it gets plus 9,999.
I love some of the tech that people are using for that new cactus
Yeah.
thing. Like
Fling.
Fling is obviously amazing. Like
It's a hilarious, giant, funny creature that is actually, it's good. It's good. Don't get me wrong, it's a good card and it's a funny card. But people going up and down saying it's OP, it's not. It's fine.
it's not OP.
It's just
Well,
a
7 to
big
play.
giant green creature. It's funny.
Well, I think when you only have 40 life in Commander, for example, anything over 40 is OP, right?
Yeah.
Think of like the boom cannon from the original Aether.
Either Drift, either Kaladesh.
You know, you spend Kaladesh, like you spend 40, like you spend X amount of life and you do X amount of damage.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like anything that can deal more than someone's life total is inherently OP.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it's 50 life or 9,999
Yeah, it's the same,
lives.
it's the
It's the same. It's the same thing.
Big
right?
number, no matter what, over 40 is the same.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right.
So this whole thing here, how do you guys feel about it as a template
like
for
it.
new players?
I like
Makes
it.
sense, right?
Yeah, it's fairly standard. Yeah. And I
It's a
think
good
the
guy.
biggest thing
It's
is
a good
giving-
guy. A lot of people don't understand like the need for certain things to be in a deck.
Correct.
They just want like, I just want to play this powerful card.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh, when they play, like, why am I not winning? Because
There's a funny thing they do when someone goes to me and they recommend, oh, what should I do to upgrade my deck? and I just start handing them cards that say draw 2 cards, or this card just says destroy target artifact enchantment. They look at me and they're like, oh yeah, but what about this card? And they point towards like a big dragon,
Yeah, giant octopus or some shit.
and I'm like, sure, but let's start with the basics.
Yeah,
and normally speaking, when you grab a precon off the shelves, it's not that interesting, but maybe upgrading just essential pieces like a bit more card draw will smooth everything out.
And no tap lads.
Yeah. And just kind of cutting little pieces like the inefficient land pieces.
Yeah, Paul
Correct.
will play because I've slowed down on the time that I've got to like build new decks. So Will was playing with most of my decks are fairly proficient, mostly, right? But he's playing with a Garv deck, which is a token heavy, requires a bit of mana. It's in green, so it's got it there. But I hadn't like teched it out like some of my more impressive decks. So it was that every land that was coming in tapped because it's 3 colors, so it wanted to have all the jewels. And Paul William wasn't having the best time of those lands.
I was like, I'm already mono screwed and coming in tap.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm so slow.
I think for me, Commander has 3 tenets, 3 like main pillars of deck construction. And those 3 pillars are card draw, ramp, and engine. And you really shouldn't neglect any of those 3.
Yeah.
Those 3 are so important and fundamental.
You want to be nicely balanced into whatever the deck's doing. And those numbers go up and down depending on what your
strategy
commander is and
doing,
what your
correct.
strategy is. Like I've talked about it before, is like a big thing I'm trying to do now is build a commander decks where the commander itself isn't as integral as it used to be. So it's like, so when you don't have to necessarily get your commander as quickly as possible, you can wait for the first board wipe to go by before bringing it out or like having some removal get played around. So you're not kind of like sticking your neck out there to be the first one to get chopped right.
So if you want to play Commander, if you haven't played Commander, please come in and look for Kang. Kang will guide you through to the
I'm happy.
Commander.
I'm always happy to talk to new players and give like a little bit of like kind of just advice.
Yeah.
I may not be able to sit next to you and build a deck with you, but I can at least make sure that
Tell
you're on
you.
the right path.
Yeah.
Show you some new cards. I can
And
show
speaking about
you
if you
the
want to play a bit of
world.
Commander with us as well, March 22nd is the next Burger.
All right, I'm gonna say something one time only. Next week, Commander, if you sign up, Kang will put down your name. You'll get an extra pack. Only next week.
Oh, so if
sign
you
up.
early sign up,
No, next week.
next week sign up.
Yeah, that means next week, Thursday.
So next Thursday.
Correct.
So for the
So
Thursday.
by next Thursday.
So for the Thursday crowd that comes down for Commander event,
Correct.
if on that night they buy a ticket for Burger Commander,
Correct.
they're eligible for an extra prize pack
That's correct.
from you, William.
Yes.
Okay. That's a good way to get people in. I'm
Yeah.
down.
If you're too late, I don't care. Too bad, so sad.
Done deals. All right. And then for this like Commander Field episode, you know, we had Warhammer last episode. We have Commander back on this episode here. You guys have any final
we are
notes?
talking.
Any sign outs? Any last things you guys want to add? Any advice?
Yeah, I've been working on my sign outs as we talked about before. Like last
Oh.
week, tried the Kawasaki Steve.
Yeah.
So this one tonight is Wubba Dub Dub. I'm in a tub. William, do you want to rub?
What? I thought you're supposed to stick to one.
No, I'm trying a different one
Oh, okay.
every week.
All right.
And so
Too long, bro.
Are you sure? Do you not like that one?
It is
try it
Charles
again.
Meow. Okay, let's
All
go.
right. William.
Charles Meows.
Wubba Dub Dub. William, you're in my tub.
Want to rub?
Want to rub? Do you think that was a flop?
Good night, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weeks. And I'll see you guys around. Ciao.